Hi, my name is Rielle Hoig. I'm an outreach and data specialist with the Aerial Insectivore Conservation Program at Birds Canada. Today I'll be talking about chimney swifts, trends in the numbers of swifts using roosts in the Maritimes, and share a success story about an artificial roost structure. Birds Canada is a nonprofit charitable organization that aims to drive action to increase the understanding, appreciation, and conservation of birds in Canada. We work with thousands of volunteer citizen scientists to conduct monitoring alongside targeted scientific research. We partner with many different organizations, deliver public engagement and outreach activities, and use solid science-based advocacy and on-the-ground actions to conserve birds. Today I'm speaking from Mi'kma'ki, the traditional and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the Treaties of Peace and Friendship signed in 1725. Birds Canada understands that Indigenous voices, knowledge, and ongoing work on the land are critical for wild birds to thrive in sustainable ecosystems. We support the needs, aspirations, and rights of Indigenous peoples to care for the land. Chimney swifts are typically described as cigars with wings, which refers to their short bodies carried by long, narrow wings. They spend most of their time in flight and, unlike most songbirds, are unable to perch and instead cling to rough vertical surfaces and brace themselves with their stiff needle-like tail. Chimney swifts are aerial insectivores, meaning that they almost exclusively feed on flying insects. Chimney swifts nest and roost or rest together in cavities, which historically were large, hollow trees common in old-growth forests. With the arrival of colonizers, agriculture and forestry practices reduced the availability of this habitat, and swifts made a home out of the masonry chimneys they built instead. Swifts will also use barns, silos, caves, and even wells for nesting and roosting. When roosting, up to a few thousand swifts will use a chimney, whereas when nesting, only one pair will occupy a site. Chimney swifts have declined 90% since 1970 and are considered threatened in Canada and endangered in Nova Scotia. They face a number of threats, including the decline of flying insects, a possible mismatch in timing of flying insect emergence and swift arrival from migration, severe weather due to climate change, and habitat loss. Once again, swifts face a loss of roost and nest habitat as masonry chimneys fall into disrepair and are capped, lined, or demolished. Additionally, this style of chimney is no longer required and very seldom used in new builds, so no new habitat is replacing what is being lost. In their overwintering grounds in South America, logging and forest fires reduce forest habitat for swifts as well. Maritimes SwiftWatch is a Birds Canada citizen science monitoring and conservation program that provides volunteers and community groups an opportunity to act as stewards for chimney swifts. Chimney swifts arrive here in May and gather at roost sites before dispersing to nest in July. Known roost sites are indicated by blue dots on this map and nests in green. It's important to note that blank areas do not necessarily indicate an absence of swifts, but rather a lack of knowledge and surveying. We hope to increase survey effort and locate more roosts and nests in 2023. To monitor swift populations, a National Roost Monitoring count takes place each year during spring migration from the end of May to early June. There are 5 pre-selected dates each year on which citizen scientists and partners count the number of swifts entering roosts across Canada and the US using a standardized protocol. This count allows us to calculate a minimum population estimate for swifts and assess trends in how well conservation measures are working. I use the word minimum because not all roosts are known, and known roosts may not always be monitored on these dates due to volunteer numbers and availability. If you're interested in learning more about the SwiftWatch program, scan the QR code here, or you can just search SwiftWatch on your browser. There will be more contact information at the end of this poster. Speaking of roost monitoring, here's a bar plot of chimney swift counts in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia from 2014 to 2022. Data from 2022 are still being gathered, so this figure isn't fully representative of 2022 counts. Mean counts of chimney swifts entering each monitored roost from May 20th to June 7th each year were added up to produce the bars you see here. National Roost Monitoring takes place during this date range. The number above each bar indicates the number of roost surveys that took place within those dates. Based on these roost count data, chimney swift numbers have generally increased in both Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Nova Scotia has consistently higher numbers of roost surveys despite a similar number of known roosts in each province. As I've said before, not all known roosts are monitored, and there are certainly roosts that have not yet been discovered. Over time, we've discovered more roosts to monitor, which may also explain the general increase in swift numbers. We hope to increase monitoring in known roosts in the coming season and continue to search for more roosts and nest sites. If you're listening and interested in counting swifts or in helping search for roosts or nests, please let us know. To finish this presentation, I'll share a swift success story. In Bridgetown, Nova Scotia, a high school was slated for demolition in 2019. There was a problem with this, however. The site had recently been discovered to be a chimney swift roost, hosting several hundred swifts at times. To avoid the loss of this important habitat, a group of experts gathered to plan and construct an artificial roost chimney. When possible, it's preferable that an existing roost remain in place, as swifts prefer to use the same site or network of sites each year. This was not possible in this case, so this chimney was constructed to as closely replicate the original chimney as possible, in the hopes that the swifts would adopt this new site. At the top of the figure, in 2018, you can see counts of swifts using the original chimney. Then, from 2019 to 2021, the artificial roost was intensively monitored and had a peak of 1,200 individuals using the chimney on one night in 2021. Thankfully, the swifts adopted this artificial roost chimney and hopefully will continue to use it for decades to come. If you're interested in more information on our swift or other aerial insectivore monitoring opportunities, you can visit our aerial insectivore webpage at the top. You can also touch base with us at marswifts@birdscanada.org. To stay up to date with swift activities, you can sign up for our SwiftWatch newsletter or find Maritimes SwiftWatch on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for listening.